All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Shine episode. Today we have our fifth guest, Karla Holt. She's a third year neuroscience student at the Honors College of FAU. And I'll just go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. So I'm Karla, and I'm a third year cellular neuroscience student, as Matt said. I've been working in research for the past 3 years in Dr. Kowalko's lab. And yeah, it's been an amazing ride so far.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you about, yourself and your research and just kind of talk about your experience within research and as a student here and overall, just your experience.
Yeah, so I really like the Honors College. I like the proximity to the beach. I really like to go running by the beach quite often, especially when I was living on campus. It's amazing with the class sizes. I really like that you can get to know your professor one-to-one on a first name basis. And yeah, I really liked it overall.
Yeah, I agree. I that's what I said last time with Jose, how it was great getting to know your professors and that gives way for like opportunities and all that. So speaking about opportunities, let's talk about what you do outside of the classroom because, we can always talk about what you do as a student, but most of us are students.
Yeah, so actually I have a YouTube channel which it's growing. I really like to like make these videos like sharing like the knowledge that I've learned as a student, but kind of making connections with things that are like not really so school related, just personal development and just all these types of things in general. I also really like to play tennis, so I often do that, and I've been trying my hand at triathlon, but it's like really hard. So don't I'm not the best one on that one, but it's been nice to give it like a shot.
That sounds really interesting though. It sounds like you have like a wide range of things that you like to do, which your YouTube channel is like something that I like to talk about because you do a lot of good stuff. And I think your content is really helpful, not only to incoming students to the HC, but to any student looking for any like, I don't know, student resource and stuff like that. So what is your mission with your YouTube channel right now?
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, I'd really like to create a community of scholars, dedicated, like I like to say, dedicated in the pursuit of knowledge and such, but really it's just kind of spread the wealth of what we're learning and kind of help everybody move along in their journeys. I like in my life, I really would like to be able to use what we learn in science and make connections outside the classroom so we can live happier and healthier lives. And so that's kind of my goal with the YouTube channel, try to make a community, but we'll see how it goes. I think it's going well so far.
Yeah, I agree. I think your videos are super helpful. And actually, funny story, when I was deciding whether I should go to the honors college or not, because I transferred from main campus in Boca, I watched Karla's YouTube. She came up
Oh
when I
my
was
God.
looking up FAU Honors College, and she had like all the videos there. There were like six of them at the time. Now there's plentiful, which is awesome because I know I'm not the only one who's experienced that, who's like seeing your videos and then after have come up to you or message you and be like, hey, you actually helped me out a lot. So thank you.
Yeah,
It's
that's
pretty
like
crazy.
ridiculous. Sorry. I was gonna say that's like ridiculous to me because it's like I'm like a little when I first started, I was like a freshman in my dorm, just like with my phone, like taking videos, and like I'm so happy this has been able to help you and other students as well. So thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, of course. And, I guess to look up your YouTube channel, what do you put in? Do you just put in Karla Holt or just so people
Yeah,
can
so
look you up?
my channel, you can look me up at the Karla Holt just to make some sort of distinguishing factor, but because there's like other Karla Holts out there. But yeah, if you just type in Karla Holt or the Honors College, you'll find some of my videos.
Cool, awesome. Thank you. So I want to talk about your research now. You currently work at the Tri Lab, right? At the FAU Brain Institute. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the Tri-Lab's actually in the Jupiter Life Science Initiative. And it's like three labs. It's Dr. Kowalko's, Dr. Keen's, and Dr. Du Bois' lab. We work with the Mexican tetra, the Mexican cavefish. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's really interesting. It's been awesome to be a part of it. And it really has changed my way of thinking about things in general, if that makes sense. But yeah, is there like something specific that you wanted to know about the Tri-Lab or just like general
Yeah,
overview
so
of it?
2 episodes ago, I think I was talking to Anders, and he works in the Trilab as well, and he
Yeah.
works with the Mexican tetra. That's what it's called, right? The fish is blind, right? It has no eyes at all.
Yeah, so it's really interesting model organism. So they're like two independently derived populations, and one of them got caught in a cave, and so they lost like vision. And then the other one is like completely like a normal looking fish. So like river dwelling population. And so the project that I've been working on has been observing like behavior and how that's changed because fish often like to move together in coordinated groups. Have you ever seen Nemo?
Yeah.
Where like the fish starts like shape shifting. So they create these things called shoals.
Yeah,
Do
I
you know what I'm
know.
talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
So
Yeah.
so the fish don't generally shapeshift, but they're like oriented. And so we were kind of trying to understand like what time point the fish start creating these schools that they start orienting themselves. And like the blind fish don't do that, which kind of makes sense because like they don't have eyes, so they can't see their neighbors. So that's been my
Interesting.
product. Yeah.
So other than I guess, so you're looking at social behavior, right? What is
Correct.
something that you've noticed about these fish? So why are they like an interesting model organism for studying genetics? Because usually model organisms, like you hear about neuroscience, you think about maybe a mouse or a fly. At my institute where I work at, I know they use like tree shoes, which are kind of like ferrets, but it's a fish, right? So like, what are the
Yeah.
advantages of using this model organism?
Yeah, I mean, so I'd say the fact that we have two independently derived or like populations that you can breed and like kind of learn more about like the sighted components, and I think it really links up also with like the neuroscience aspect of it because how many organisms do you have that you actually have two lines that are considered the same species that you can mix, if that makes sense. So it's like it's quite interesting in that sense. I mean, additionally, I think it's you need a lot of space to take care of them, but perhaps not as much as with the mice. I'm not really familiar. Like, how does that work with the mice? If you wouldn't mind telling me.
Well, with the mice, the way that we use them as model organisms, their brain structure is kind of analogous to us humans, and their behavior is kind of similar. I mean, something that always stood out to me when I first started working with mice was like my PI was like, "Oh, mice are super lazy, just like us. They will find the way that takes the least energy, just like we do." So I guess that's a way that it's like advantageous to use them. Cool. So now I want to talk about your personal experience in research. So, what are some things that you've learned throughout, your time as an undergraduate in a research lab? You were in a place where many incoming students are going to be soon, which is like the first time you step into the lab. You meet your PI, you get a project. So, what are some things you've taken from that time in research?
That's such an awesome place to be for those future people. I remember my time starting out. I would definitely say it's important to be prepared. So when I first had my interview with my PI, she gave me a couple videos, or not videos, sorry, papers to read. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, and definitely like go through them and try to understand them and make connections with what you know from like general knowledge. And I would always say it's really important to make connections with like your overall scope of knowledge. I think that's something that we can miss out as like undergrads or just as students in general. Like a lot of the times we can be like trying to study for a test or trying to study for a quiz, but we don't really connect it with what we know from outside there. So I definitely say be prepared, like do the readings, but try to connect it with outside material. I think that's like the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from my experience as this. So
Yeah, that's so true. I think what people seem to underestimate is the fact that what you learn in class, sometimes like it's just the baseline of what you're going to learn. So you build on top of that baseline knowledge, and there's just so much more out there than just class. So I know, like in lecture, it can get very frustrating at times. You're just like, why am I learning this? Why? But there's always a reason. And once you get into the research setting, I think that's when you first start using that in real life, and it's super rewarding. So yeah.
definitely, definitely. And I definitely say, especially on the topics that you might have like friction or like don't really want to study because like you said, people are like, why do we have to study this in the first place? I think especially in sciences, like we can get so detailed focus into a specific aspect of sciences or maths or whatever, that it's important to look at the broader implications and like the outside scope. Because I think that always makes it a little bit more interesting to like connect it all. So
Yeah, I agree. And now that we've talked about your personal experience in research, I think we should move on to something that has impacted every single student, which is obviously the pandemic. What are some ways that you have dealt with balancing, your research project and being a student, and just like all that. And I know there's like MCAT coming up and stuff like that for a lot of us third years. So what is something that you did to like help through that process?
Yeah, I mean, I think balance is really, really important. And so I'm trying to find a way to balance myself the best way possible. That's why I was like looking more into triathlon. I'd always been interested in it, but then trying to add more like outside components along with research, along with school, and like trying to have a good balance of everything, I think can really help like refresh and keep you focused on all the different activities that you have to do. So I definitely say like to those people that are like perhaps interested in a little like an extra activity that they might not deem super important because it's not related to like their studies like right at hand. I definitely say give it more importance. Like if you want to learn guitar, go learn guitar. It's all cool too, you know. It's good to have balance. So
Yeah, I agree. I think the pandemic has taught me how to, I don't know, before I didn't like I had hobbies before, but then, school can get very consuming and then you don't continue those hobbies. But I revisited them, like I grew up playing guitar. Now I play guitar like every so often in my bedroom and I really enjoy just getting back to that. And I think it kind of helps you with, I guess, your identity because sometimes
yeah,
school can be like a lot of people's identity, not because they choose to, because it's like so overwhelming and you're just doing school, school, school. But I think like touching base and doing things that interest you are ultimately what's most important. Like you said,
you know,
balance.
yeah, and like something interesting that I heard recently is that sometimes like being part of all these different types of concepts or like different range of activities, they can actually be like connected intrinsically in like the main goal that you're trying to accomplish. So I thought it was like really interesting when I heard that. It was like another podcast the other day. So
Yeah, that's really cool. I know, for example, I was talking to someone that played guitar as well, and they said that they're part of an organization that goes and plays guitar to nursing homes or hospitals.
wow.
And I was like, wow, that's such a way to combine your interests. You're because I mean, going into medicine, you're not only interested in like the science part of it, but you're also interested in like the patient care and their wellness and stuff. So I think those are two nice ways to intersect those interests, like your own musical interests and that healthcare aspect of it. So yeah, there's always many ways to get that done.
Yeah, definitely. And like, for example, another thing I tried to do to balance all of these different interests was at the beginning of last semester, I started taking French courses. So like,
Nice.
and I actually picked up a minor and I'm looking to perhaps study abroad maybe someday in the future. And so like all these things, and it's gonna like tie in together at the same, like at the full scope because I'd like to be a physician. I'd like to create all these connections with people. And if I speak another language, it'll help me make connections with a whole new range of people. So I definitely would put more importance into that type of thing, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed with the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people, again, if you have an interest, there's always some way you can connect it. So I think, like you said, you're French. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll really need to use
Yeah.
French, and if not, then it's an awesome language to learn. I think you can't go wrong with like doing what interests you. Is what I'm trying to get at. So thank you, Karla, for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. And before you go, I would like to ask, what is one piece of advice that you would give to like an incoming freshman who is nervous about research or nervous about college in general, like extracurriculars, classes, social life, anything of that sort?
Yeah, I mean, I'd always tell you like be yourself and pursue the things that genuinely interest you. I really think that's very important. It sounds super cliche, but maybe to expand a little bit more, if there's something that you're super interested in, trust me, there's a lot of different connections that you can make with it, and just try to find those connections because the sooner you can make those connections, like it's going to be such a fun time. So
Yeah, I agree. Thank you again. And yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to dip your foot into something because, again, there's like so many things you can do, and there's like an infinite amount of outcomes from what you can do. So yeah, thank you again for those wise words and for your time, Karla Holt, everybody. And this again was the Shine podcast. Thank you for your time, for listening, and see you guys next time. Have a great day.